running? Okay, so I'm gonna make bread end of today or tomorrow. And so I've taken the starter out of the fridge. And you can see this starter has been sitting in the fridge for about a week. And so it's kind of like watery. It's not that that airy stuff that we've been talking about. But I'm going to take a teaspoon of this. Let's see. I don't want the liquid. I'm just going to take that. I'm going to drop that in. You can see it's not that much. It's just like a tablespoon. And then I am going to add a cup of flour to it. And then I'm going to just add water. I don't know exactly how much water this is. Maybe it's like a cup of water. But the main thing is that it gets the consistency of like a pancake batter. And I will just mix this up. Boop, boop, boop. Let's see. And this is gonna sit on the counter for today, since it's it's not that warm in here. It's probably like 70 degrees in here. So it'll probably take. Okay, so our starter, it's been like 24 hours. It's 7:45 the next morning. The starter, you can see it's really like fluffy and light. Matter of fact, let's do a quick test here. See if it floats. Yeah, it's so fluffy it's sticking to the glass. And you can see very clearly it floats in the glass. So that is ready to go. So to make the dough, I have two kinds of flour. I have a bunch of water and a mixing bowl, and that's it. So the water is it's lukewarm. It's probably like 90 degrees. It is warm. That'll help like speed up the process. And so you can see, Akio, can you come around here real quick? So you can see we're going to put in 370 grams of water. A little bit over. Let's do this. Actually, we'll go 375. And then we're going to add 200 grams of starter. Hello. So 70, 75, 90. So that's a little bit over. No big deal. And then mix that up by hand. So you might feel some like chunks and things that need to be broken up. So just break all that up by hand. So you have some nice like warm water here. And then we are going to add 600 grams of flour. Now the flour, we'll do like 550 grams of white, and we'll do 50 grams of whole wheat. So, I'll do the white first. And set this on the tray. Okay. There. That's 565. Doesn't need to be an exact, 550, but I would not go over 600. So, and I did. If you do go over, then you can just take the extra out. But in the end, you're looking for 600. Okay, now with everything together in the bowl like that, then I just mix it up with my hand. So you're just trying to get everything mixed together. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of instructions for how to mix together the flour and the water. You just mix it together. After this has mixed together, we're going to let it sit for an hour so that the water can absorb into all of the flour. And that's it. So actually I'm going to do this for a minute or so, but I don't think we need to capture all that on the video. So. Cool, so the dough is ready. It's been sitting for about an hour. The first thing that we need to do before we knead the dough is to add salt. And so we are going to add 13 grams of salt, actually 12. So there we go. We have 12 grams of salt. Just sprinkle that salt on the top of the dough like that. And before I even take it out of the container, I like to try and like mix that salt in a little bit. Otherwise, when you put the dough on the counter, like we're going to here in a moment, the salt will just fly everywhere and you'll lose some of it. It's kind of a mess. What else did I want to say? So what we're going to do right now, we're going to knead the dough. You're going to need a clean counter space. Not a huge surface, but like I said, something that's clean, and it's going to create kind of a mess. So probably something that's smooth so that all of this dough isn't going to go into the cracks. So drop your dough onto the flat surface. We're going to be doing this for like 10 minutes. And so this is the way it works. You have your lump of dough, you're going to pick it up and spread it out like that. Then you grab the end of it, fold it over, then grab the other side, turn it around 90 degrees, and flap it again. So fold over, pick up, slap down, fold over, pick it up, turn it 90 degrees, slap it down. Now, sometimes if it doesn't really like stretch out when you flap it out, then I will stretch it out when it's down on the counter. So it might look more like this. And that's different than what that French guy will show you in the video. For some reason, his dough seems a little bit looser, and so it stretches on its own when you flap it down onto the counter. But what you're trying to do is stretch out this dough, so get it as long as possible. And then when you're picking up, that's the same thing you're trying to do. You're trying to stretch it. That builds gluten in the dough. And that's it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, I'm going to take the dough, I'm going to drop it back into the container, I'm going to cover the container, and I'm going to let it sit for 7 or 8 hours. And that's it. I guess it's been like 10 hours now, and you can see it's really, really expanded. It's well more than doubled in size. There's some air bubbles popping up in it, so it is really good. So that's what we call the first proofing, and now we need to do what we call the second proofing. And for the second proofing, we're gonna take it out of here, and see it's still very sticky. I'm gonna dump it onto our flat surface again. Bring the whole thing out. And I'm going to take a little flour, and we're going to put the flour over the top of that dough and also kind of around it. And then we're going to take that and we're going to flip it upside down. Okay, now we're going to do a very similar, well actually no, we didn't do this earlier. So fold it over once like that, fold it over once like this, fold it over once like this, and fold that over. Okay. Now this is ready to go into our basket. Now, you probably don't have one of these baskets. This is called a proofing basket. You don't need a proofing basket. You can use any bowl. I would do a loaf-shaped bowl. A bowl like this would work as well. I would do something round. because your loaf of bread is going to take the shape of this basket. So like I said, I'm using a basket, but if you're using a bowl, it's fine. You need to flour the inside of that really well, and you can use white or whole wheat flour to do it. I'm actually using oat bran in this one. Whatever you put in there is going to stick to the bottom of your loaf, which can look kind of cool. So we're going to take that loaf that we just made, and we're going to drop it in the basket. And if you have a proofing basket, you can actually cover it up like this. You're going to want to cover the top of whatever it is that you have. You can use saran wrap, and then put it in the fridge. We're going to leave it in the fridge overnight. You only need to leave it in the fridge long enough for it to get cold. I'd say no less than 3 hours. If you can do it overnight, like 12 hours, that's even better. So great, that's that step. Okay, so this has actually been in the fridge for more than the evening. I'm trying to remember when it was, so it's been probably like 24 hours. It was in there. You can see it rose more. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it on wax paper. And it might stick just a little bit to the inside of your basket, depending on what you use. If you use the metal one, it usually doesn't stick, but I'm just going to very easily ease it off. And there is our loaf. This loaf is going to, so what I'm going to do is to tighten up the surface of it, I'm pushing the edges of the bread underneath it, okay? The goal of this is to make the top of it a little tighter so that it will rise when it goes into the oven. That's really it. It's ready to go. I've actually already... Great. So now that I'm ready to put it into the oven, I'm just going to put 3 cuts into it with a razor blade. So try and go at least like ½ an inch into the bread when you do this. It's a nice like deep cut because these are really going to open up. Okay, the oven has been preheated to 480, and I am using this, which is a cloche, but you can also use a Dutch oven. Dropping it on, I try and do this very quickly after I make the cuts. I put the top on. Like I said, it's heated up to 480 degrees. Closing it, and I am going to set the timer for 30 minutes. And that's it. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. And it's been 30 minutes, and we're going to open this up. Take the top off. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's looking really good. Okay, we're going to pull the paper out. And we're going to shut the oven. And we're going to turn the temperature down to 440 degrees. So bake 440 start. And we're going to set a timer for 25 minutes. And that's it.